Pies are luxuries. They don't need luxuries.
All right, we all know that Rachel Zegler was the main reason Snow White 2005 became a cinematic train wreck. The internet has roasted her into oblivion. Disney's PR team probably needs therapy. And at this point, everyone has talked about her disastrous interviews, the feminist buzzwords, and the whole not in love with a man debacle. But you know who no one is talking about? Gal Gadot. While Zegler was busy alienating Disney fans, Gadot was supposed to be the film's saving grace, the one thing that could still make the movie watchable. After all, she's a Hollywood A-lister, she's stunning, and she can definitely command attention when given the right role, Wonder Woman, for example. But here's the issue. The Evil Queen isn't just another superhero role. She's not about looking cool in slow motion or delivering one-liners with a sword in hand. The Evil Queen is theatrical, dramatic, and dripping in Shakespearean-level villainy. And unfortunately, that's where Gadot completely missed the mark.
Listen here, Snow White. There are many things you need to know. 1. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I am beheld as the most fairless.
The Evil Queen, or a confused supermodel. Instead of delivering a chilling, menacing performance like Charlize Theron, Snow White and the Huntsman, or even the original 1937 animated Queen, Gadot's Evil Queen felt more like a glamorous runway model who accidentally wandered onto the wrong set. Her accent?
You don't need luxuries.
Thicker than the CGI budget. Her line delivery? As wooden as the poisoned apple. Her villainous presence? Let's just say even the magic mirror was probably side-eyeing her. At some points, it felt like she was trying to be over-the-top evil, but instead it came off like a bad soap opera audition. And let's be real, when the audience starts rooting for the Queen just so the movie will be over faster, you know there's a problem. Now, if you thought Gadot's acting was questionable, just wait until you hear her singing. We all remember her iconic Imagine video from 2020, where she and a bunch of rich celebrities serenaded us into secondhand embarrassment during a pandemic.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Well, imagine that, but in a $270 million Disney movie. Gadot's big musical moment in Snow White, painfully weak.
I'll proceed, second to none with no doubt. When I'm going out, mirror on the wall.
Her voice, more auto-tuned than a 12 and 8 T-Pain song. The Evil Queen is supposed to be powerful and menacing, but Gadot's vocals sound more like a villain in a kindergarten musical. And the worst part? Disney knew. They apparently modified her vocals so much that the final version barely sounds like her. That's right. They pulled a live-action Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson and buried her voice under layers of studio magic. At this point, you have to wonder, why cast someone who can't sing in a role that requires it? Oh, right, because star power over skill is Hollywood's favorite game. Let's be real. Her performance wasn't just bad, it was accidentally hilarious. When she tried to be menacing, it came off as awkwardly playful. When she attempted a sinister stare, she looked like she was trying to remember her next line. It's like watching someone try to be evil but also worried about smudging their lipstick. And the best part? Her menacing whisper voice. Instead of chilling and intimidating, it sounded like she was about to sell us luxury skincare products. Who is the fairest of them all? Also, have you tried my new fragrance, Enchanted Essence? Disney gambled hard on Gadot's star power carrying this film. But here's the problem. She's not a character actress. Villains require a level of depth and theatricality that Gadot, bless her heart, just does not have. She's a great action star, but an evil queen? Not so much. It's like asking The Rock to play a Shakespearean villain. You could do it, but should you? Certain clips from her performance leaked early, and the internet did what the internet does best, turn them into memes. From her overly enunciated line readings to her not-so-villainous smirk, it's almost like she wandered in from a different movie entirely. Honestly, at this point, between Zegler's PR meltdown and Gadot's acting masterclass in awkwardness, this movie should have been a comedy. But let's be honest, Gal Gadot's performance is just one piece of the puzzle. Remember how Rachel Zegler went viral for calling the original Snow White weird because it was about a girl falling in love with a prince she barely knows? Well, Disney took that feedback and said, fine, no prince at all. That's right. Initially, the prince was completely cut from the story. And how did audiences react? Oh, they hated it. Because here's the thing. When people buy tickets to Snow White, they kinda expect Snow White to actually interact with the prince. So after the internet ripped Disney apart, they hastily brought him back in. But by then, it was too late. This is like breaking up with your boyfriend, realizing you need someone to help you move, and then texting him, "Hey, you up?" Awkward, desperate, and too little, too late. Now, we all know Disney ditched the Seven Dwarfs in favor of a random group of CGI-generated magical companions. But did you know that even the final version of the film couldn't decide what they were? At one point, they were called the Bandits, which, let's be real, sounds like a rejected name for a knockoff Robin Hood gang. Then Disney panicked again and rebranded them as the Forest Companions. Really? That sounds like a hippie rock band that plays at farmers markets. Why not just call them the Random Forest Dudes at this point? By trying to please everyone, Disney pleased no one. Ever notice how some movies get plastered on every billboard, bus, and fast food cup, while others just don't? Well, Snow White was one of the strangest marketing cases ever. No big Times Square billboards. Almost no YouTube ads. Trailer dropped late and was oddly hard to find. It's like Disney was ashamed of their own movie and decided to bury it like a cursed artifact. I mean, even Haunted Mansion got a full-blown ad campaign, and that movie came out during a strike. So, why did Snow White get the silent treatment? Some insiders say Disney saw the backlash early and thought, maybe if we don't promote it, people will just forget it exists. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Before the film went through last-minute rewrites, an earlier draft of the script leaked online, and let me tell you, it was insane. Instead of a fairy tale romance, the original script turned Snow White into a full-blown warrior, leading a rebellion against the evil queen. No poisoned apple, no prince, no dwarfs, epic battle scenes. Basically, they wanted to turn Snow White into Game of Thrones, which isn't exactly what people wanted from a Disney movie. So, after fans freaked out, Disney quietly rewrote the whole thing to be less medieval warfare, more awkward feminism sound bites. And yet, some of those battle scene remnants supposedly still made it into the final version, because nothing says Snow White like military strategy. Here's a juicy one. Rumors suggest that early test audiences walked out of screenings because the dialogue was too cringe. Allegedly, some of Snow White's lines sounded less like a fairy tale and more like a college gender studies lecture. One supposed deleted scene had Snow White talking down to the prince about how she doesn't need to be saved and how romance is a distraction from female empowerment. Now, don't get me wrong, strong female characters are awesome, but when you remake a romance story just to mock romance, it's gonna backfire. So, after early audiences groaned, Disney ripped out the worst lines before release. Too little, too late though, because the vibe was still off, and the movie felt like it was constantly apologizing for being Snow White. Okay, this one is just hilarious. At some point, Disney executives were so sure this movie would be a hit that they started planning an extended Snow White universe. Yup, spin-offs, sequels, the whole shebang. A prequel about the evil queen's backstory. A sequel where Snow White fights new villains. Again, why is she always fighting? A possible crossover with other Disney live-action remakes. Basically, Disney thought they were cooking up the next Marvel franchise, and then the movie flopped harder than a magic mirror falling off the wall. Let's just say those plans are officially dead. At this point, Snow White 2025 wasn't just a box office failure. It was a masterclass in how not to remake a classic. Bad marketing, controversial casting, confusing story changes, pandering dialogue, the disappearing evil queen, reshoots worth more than the entire GDP of small countries. Honestly, the real villain of Snow White wasn't the evil queen. It was Disney's own decision-making, and that, my friends, is a fairy tale tragedy if I've ever seen one. Unlike Disney, I actually listen to my audience. So, if you want more brutally honest breakdowns, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and let's keep questioning who let these movies happen.